Great. Listen, yeah, thanks for having us. Of course, Goldsource is thrilled to be able to participate in this conference, and there's many good things happening at the country level and certainly at the project level. So appreciate that. So who are we? I think in the case of much of your audience, they may not know Goldsource. They may have known it historically, perhaps, but much has changed, particularly in the last 2 years. We are an advanced staged exploration company. We're focused on the Eagle Mountain project in Guyana. It is the second largest undeveloped gold resource in the country. The first would be the Toroparu asset that Gran Colombia is currently in the process of acquiring. So, lots happening there. As far as the Eagle Mountain project goes, it brings to bear a large resource, a large and growing resource. We have 1.7 million ounces of gold contained in indicated and inferred categories. So quite large and still growing, and sort of split 50-50 between indicated and inferred at this point in time. And importantly, the property hosts two key structural trends. We have resources and targets on both those trends, which we'll get into. So if there's anything in this presentation, and the three things I would ask you to think about as we go through the presentations are this: is this 1.7 million ounces is shallow. It's from surface down to only 80 meters, with the bulk of it from surface down to 50 meters. The second thing is that the surface of the mineralization has significant soft rock saprolite, so it's no drilling, no blasting, essentially free dig with an excavator, as you can kind of see with the picture on the right here. And as far as milling goes, of course, low power intensity to process that stuff. So the third point is the deposit itself is shallow, but it's also tabular. It's kind of draped across the side of the hill. So what that allows us to do, of course, is just cherry pick the high grades and have the higher grades preferentially earlier in the mine life, right? So what we've got is as I said, shallow, scalable, and an asset that we can schedule the high grade. So Paul spoke to this, and in fact, I think he had the same figure showing what is West Africa and the extensions of the Proterozoic greenstone belts into Guyana. So Guyana is part of the Guyana Shield. It's between Suriname and Venezuela. It has British law. It is the only country in South America that is English speaking, which to us has its benefits. Historically, mining makes up about 25% of the GDP from gold, bauxite, diamonds. This will change with the oil boom that is happening in Guyana, and Paul did speak to that. So the Mining Act is stable. It's been in place for 35 years. Security of mineral tenure, and very low, and in fact no social opposition to mining in Guyana. As far as geology goes, it is very prospective. Remains certainly relatively underexplored compared to what you'd find in West Africa. Same greenstone belts, similar geology, but it's under heavy vegetation, right? So that has slowed the progress in terms of the identification of these large, big deposits. But what we've had more recently with modern geophysics is that's proven to be very, very instructive for discovery of large deposits, and that's been the case for us as well. In terms of where we're situated in Guyana, the red circle here, we're in central Guyana. We are road accessible, and Paul mentioned Guyana maybe doesn't have the infrastructures as some of those other countries mentioned today. We are road accessible. That was critical in the selection of this project in particular. And also, of course, what's happening with Guyana with the oil boom is already we're looking at a project where there's a road upgrade project from Linden to Mabora Hill, which is the turnoff for our project. And it's a US $191 million road upgrade project, about 121 kilometers of road. So there's good things that are happening already in the country, and certainly with the oil revenues that will facilitate the build out of the infrastructure in due time. More specifically, in Guyana, we are 7 kilometers from a town called Madia. Madia is 3,500 people. It is the capital of Region 8. It is a central mining location. It's an artisanal mining town. It exists because of gold mining. There's a hospital there, school, shops. There's a paved airstrip, and we can take commercial flights from Georgetown to Madia. So good access for us, whether by road or by air. So regionally, you'd expect gold is pervasive regionally around our claim block, which is in green here. It's about 5,000 hectares. There's significant gold showings in alluvials and saprolites. That's identified by these red dots, essentially all around our property. And then some hard rock mines further out with the Omai mine. It's the historical Omai mine, and now it's a project. That's about 43 kilometers away from us, and that produced about 3.8 million ounces. Troy Resources is a current operating mine. So I mean, regionally, much gold. Looking more closely at our project on the right side of the boxes is we've got significant gold showings. Now, what's in red here is any gold that's in drill core, auger hole, that's over 1 gram per ton, and anything in orange is over 0.5. So gold is very much pervasive on our property as well, and that's just the western that's just the western side of our property where the bulk of the work has been done. We've done very little on the east side, which we'll get into later in the presentation. You can see the bulk of our mineralization on the property is hosted in 2 key structural trends. We've got a prominent northeast trend and a very prominent north-south trend as well. So just sort of getting into the project here, as I said, the resource is 1.7 million ounces. That was announced, it's very fresh, freshly minted. It was announced on February 22nd. That resource is based on 57,000 meters of drilling, 674 core holes. Of course, given it's sort of a tabular deposit, most of those holes were shallow, generally less than 140 meters in depth. The cutoff date for that resource was November the 6th. So sort of obviously a while ago. And since then, we've had a number of new discoveries, notably some very high-grade infill holes in the Ounce Hill area. This resource, it was focused on the Eagle Mountain Salbora. It did not include some new discoveries at Toucan, Powys, and some of the extensional targets at Eagle Mountain. So we're looking to capture some, potentially not all, but some of that with a resource update later this year, probably in the fourth quarter. As far as the saprolite goes, you can see from that image on the bottom right, this is kind of what we like about it from a mining perspective. It's sort of free digging, easy to dig, no drilling, no blasting. Metallurgically, we've done 2 rounds of metallurgical tests on this. The last round in 2018, and the recoveries look really good. It's got low sulfides, no deleterious elements, and what's interesting for me in my background's metallurgy is it's got a very coarse grind recovery relationship. So it looks like the P80 for us, so the grind size will be about 200 microns, which is very coarse. So what it could mean for us, and we're doing more work on this right now, is there's potential to bypass the grinding circuit for about, at a minimum, 40% of the feed into the mill. So again, it sort of speaks to the scalability of the asset, and that's what we're looking for here. On the as I said, the resource, it is comprised of 2 deposits at the moment, Eagle Mountain deposit and Salbora. Both are structurally controlled. Salbora is on the north-south trend. Here, Eagle Mountain, which is the bulk of the ounces, is about 1.6 of the 1.7 million ounces. That's on the northeast trend. So both structurally controlled, both affected by tropical saprolitic weathering, anywhere from sort of 10 to 50 meters in the deposit. Eagle Mountain is about 2.5 kilometers laterally, so laterally very extensive. It's about 1.5 kilometers wide at the widest in and around the friendly area. And Salbora, the Salbora Powys trend, as we call it, it's about 4.5 kilometers long with a number of gold targets peppered along the length of that structural trend. So in total, about 7 kilometers, excuse me, of auriferous events on these 2 structural corridors. So Eagle Mountain, just focusing on this to start, it is a system of low-angle thrust faults hosted in granite diorite. At the moment, we've got 3 zones of mineralization, Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3, as that's laid out here. Interestingly, Zone 1, this is not a great schematic because it's not the scale, but Zone 1 hosts the bulk of the mineralization at Eagle Mountain. So what we're looking at is about 92% of the indicated resource and 77% of the inferred resource is located in Zone 1 as it stands now. So we're doing more work on Zone 2 and Zone 3 as we go. These are deeper holes, but the bulk of the drilling has been in Zone 1 and as the bulk of the resource in the Eagle Mountain deposit. The surface of that, of course, as I mentioned, is the saprolite, sort of anywhere from 10 to 50 meters, but generally about 15 meters on average in the saprolite. So huge potential. This is what we speak to. It's a very shallow resource, and obviously you can sort of cherry pick where you want to start and basically put the excavator down anywhere and start focusing on the higher grades. The figure on the right just shows, again, it's 2 kilometers, 2.5 kilometers in length, about 1.5 kilometers wide. Still open to the north, the whole northern flank in the friendly area here, to the north in the Bacchus area, and then open to the southwest in an area called Baboon. So Salbora is, again, it's the smaller deposit at the moment. It's 100,000 ounces, whereas Eagle Mountain is the 1.6 million ounces. Salbora, same mineralizing event as Eagle Mountain. However, this is sort of very different in its geometry. This is vertical to subvertical, with the mineralization hosted within and adjacent to breccia zones in mafic volcanics, slightly different. So what we have here in this deposit is we have the breccia zones coalescing closer to surface, such that they form about an 80-meter subhorizontal zone of good grades, about 2 grams per ton. So again, low strip, about double the grade, not quite double the grade of the Eagle Mountain deposit, but smaller, about 100,000 ounces. We've pushed the pit here down to about 80 meters. When we start looking, while there's high grades below that, the work we've done would suggest that the strip ratio starts to increase too much at this point in time to push the pit deeper than 80 meters. We're going to do some work here to see if we can extend this deposit laterally, both close to surface and at depth, see if we can lower that strip ratio and be able to sort of capture some of those higher grades at depth. This is sort of a 3D look at the Eagle Mountain deposit. Again, that would be Salbora in the front there. So the pit constrained resource only goes down to 80 meters. We've clearly got mineralized blocks that extend below that. This would be the north-south trend along where my cursor is here. And then the Eagle Mountain deposit, as I said, this is sort of shallow, draped across sort of the hillside here. And that's sort of 2 to 2.5 kilometers, 1.5 kilometers wide. And that's the sort of the 1.6 million ounces, very shallow mineralization in the Eagle Mountain deposit. Now we are looking to extend this in this area called Bacchus to the north, having some success there. In fact, the two principal mineralized zones, looks like we've got 4 mineralized zones in this area of Bacchus, so we're doing more work on that. To the southwest, in an area called Baboon, we're extending the 2 zones towards that of the north-south trend. So the 1.7 million ounces, that's essentially not it. We're still growing this resource. We've got some significant opportunities both in the Eagle Mountain deposit area, as we've highlighted in yellow, and on the Salbora Powys trend, we've got a number of sort of higher grade opportunities and some newer discoveries there. We've only really been working the Salbora Powys trend in the last 2 years and have made 5 discoveries there along that trend. As far as the objectives for 2021, it is initially is to convert about 75% of the existing inferred mineralization, the bulk of which is in the Eagle Mountain deposit, convert about 75% that to the indicated category, to be used as the basis for a PFS study, which will deliver middle of next year. The second point and second objective is to test these extensional targets in the Bacchus area here and in the Baboon area to the southwest, and also to continue to expand what we've got and discovered already with Toucan and Powys. And then we've got a number of greenfield targets, which we'll follow up on, not the least of which is a new discovery called Anne, which we announced in early January, about 11 meters of 3.3 grams per ton from surface. So the first objective, as I said, is to do some infill work and convert about 75% of the existing inferred into indicated. So when we've gone back and done the infill work, we've had a tremendous amount of success, in fact, and some very positive surprises. In fact, the best hole we've drilled to date, and we believe one of the best holes drilled in the gold industry worldwide this year, was hole 007. It was an infill hole. What we're looking to do here in this area called Ounce Hill is take the 75-meter drill spacing down to 25 meters. What we also did there is to get better coverage from a drill pad, is to drill a perpendicular hole. And on this perpendicular hole, we hit 34 meters true width from surface, grading 20.38 grams per ton. And that was in saprolite. Okay, so tremendous hole, obviously speaks to the potential for this Ounce Hill area to be the starter zone. Again, we could, given the tabular nature of the ore body, we can start the excavator wherever we'd like, and drop it down here in the Ounce Hill area. So that would represent a higher grade starter zone, high grades in saprolite, and very prospective. So far, I mean, that was the best hole drilled. And full disclosure, that was, the rest of the holes in this high grade feature area have not been that high, but they've also been very, very compelling. So 4 holes so far have defined about a 75-meter strike extent of a high grade pocket. As I said, the 34 meters of 20 grams per ton. We had another hole that was 30 meters of 3.4 grams per ton, 28 meters of 5.3 grams per ton in there. And just recently, late March, we came out with a hole that was 51 meters, again from surface, grading 2 grams per ton. So some thick package of mineralization from surface, the bulk of which is in saprolite. And it's really sort of boding well here for Ounce Hill to be the starter area. So what we're doing here, as we work our way down the Eagle Mountain deposit and do more infill, is we will do more perpendicular holes. You can see the bulk of the drilling we've done to date is in this orientation to the northeast. And that makes sense in the context of this being a low angle thrust fault to be drilling like this. However, what it would mean is that we would miss any high grade features which would be running parallel to the drilling, which is exactly what we found here in the Ounce Hill area. So as we work our way down the Eagle Mountain, we're going to do some more perpendicular holes. It remains to be seen if we have some more high grade features, but we're hopeful that there is the potential for that as we continue to infill this year. For the Eagle Mountain, the second part of it is in addition to the infill, it's the extensional drilling that's been sort of fundamental to what we're doing here to extend these 2 subhorizontal zones. We are drilling to the southwest in an area called Baboon, as I mentioned, not on this map. However, we are also drilling to the north in the area called Bacchus. And in that area, I mentioned we've got 4 subhorizontal zones in the area of Bacchus. In fact, we'd thought that zones 1 and zone 2 would have been eroded away in the area of Bacchus. And what we're finding is that this zones 3 and 4, which would have been at depth, would be coming close to surface as we move further to the north. And there's a hill there. So we do think with zones 1 and zones 2 will be eroded away, but zones 3 and zone 4 will come close to daylighting there. So more work to be done there, but certainly a target for resource expansion to the north with Bacchus. So when we look at the Salbora Pauis trend, it is quite different. As I said, it's vertical, subvertical. The sulfide content is higher. And what it allows us to do is use geophysics. And the main Eagle Mountain deposit is shallow. It's got exceptionally low sulfides. It doesn't. It's not as responsive to geophysics. However, the Salbora Pauis trend has been very favorable with geophysics. So what we've got here, Salbora, Toucan, Pauis, all showed up prominently with some chargeability work we've done. IP, so chargeability highs, and interestingly, resistivity highs as well. So we've got combination of sulfides, combination of silicification, which is brought into gold. That's been a tremendous tool for us to initially discover Salbora with that discovery hole of 40 meters of 6.52 grams per ton, again from surface. Toucan, a more recent discovery in 2020, not in the resource, 66 meters of 1.35 grams per ton. And Pauis, again, a late 2019, we announced it in early 2020, Pauis 10.5 meters of 9.54 grams per ton. So good hits there, more work to do. And there's no geophysics to the south in the area called Anne, although as I mentioned, we had a good discovery there, 11.5 meters of 3.37 grams per ton. So stay tuned for that. We will be following up on a Toucan Pauis, looking to get those included into the resource later this year, as with the extensional targets at Eagle Mountain. So as I said, the bulk of the work we've done to date has been on the west side of the property with these new discoveries, notably in the last 2 years, Montgomery, Salbora, Toucan, Pauis, and Anne, and the Eagle Mountain deposit here in pink, which is in the resource. The eastern side of the property has seen very little work. There was some work in the 90s, some soil work, sediment sampling done, and there was the belief that the southwestern part of the property, there's molybdenum, there's tin showings there, believed not to be prospective for gold. However, to the north and notably to the northeast, we think there's tremendous opportunity. We've got alluvial miners all around us to the northeast. Some of those miners are in fact, they're quite big operations, and they're into the saprolites there as well. So it behooves us to do some work here to the northeast. In the past, we've not had the treasury to do that, and we've remained focused on the western side of the property, but with a little more cash coming into the company, which I'll talk about in a moment. We'll look to cut some roads in here and do some work here to the northeast to understand the potential here. As I mentioned, there's a very prominent northeast structural trend that runs this way, all the way to the Omai mine, in fact, which is about 43 kilometers away, and that's a prominent trend in the country. So we'll do some work here, probably, if not later this year, into next year. This land package here, it's called the Bishop Growler Claim. We do not own that. That is an artisanal mining property, a small artisanal mine there. And again, it just sort of speaks to the potential on the eastern side of the property. So stay tuned for that, again, sort of later this year into next year. So metallurgically, I sort of commented on it. We're kind of running out of time already, but again, on the saprolite, we've done 3 rounds of metallurgy. The last 2 rounds have been substantial. 2018 with SGS was a significant round of metallurgy, 22 samples on the saprolite, very high recoveries, 95, 96%. Coarse grind bodes well for the scalability of the project and the potential to bypass the grinding circuit for a significant chunk of the saprolite, at a minimum 40%. So we'll do more work on that and more follow-up work. We've had some process design work done by Tetra Tech, pretty simple milling circuit, of course, low power intensity given the soft rock saprolite. And we have done some fresh rock work as well. Recoveries on it also look favorable. And of course, when you're down into the fresh rock, it's going to be harder, more conventional crushing and grinding circuit would be anticipated once we're into the fresh rock. So the capital structure and the balance sheet, as I mentioned here, this is going to see a facelift here in the next couple of weeks. We announced a bought deal financing on April the 30th. It was an $11 million Canadian base deal with a 15% over allotment option. And concurrent with that, we announced a 10-for-1 share consolidation, and we're targeting May 20th for the closing of both. So, a couple weeks out, in fact, less than 2 weeks out, we are looking for that shares outstanding, the cash balance to change materially, and in fact, a number of new key shareholders coming in. Some very high quality institutions came in on the deal. We did announce in a press release, Benek came in for a $5 million lead order on that financing. So significant endorsement there with Benek, and we'll have a number of other institutions and high quality resource investors in the book to show when that's done and dusted in about a week's time. So the team, should have got into that, but myself, 25 years in the business, the bulk of that time with investment dealers, about 14 years working in the investment industry, sell-side analyst at National Bank, various other investment dealers. I joined the company 6 months ago. And so still relatively new to the company, and we're still, this is our first time on Adelaide Capital, so still getting the story out. Yanisitos has been with the company for a while, and he's been working in Guyana for almost 2 decades. He's built a bauxite facility there. He was there with BHP initially, looking at bauxite, and a very skilled individual. Eric Fear, he would know, he's the founder and CEO of Silvercrest. He's our executive chairman. He's our QP as well, so very involved in our project. And importantly, with Eric and myself, is we're very focused on phased development strategies, situations where you can start small, scale into the production, scale into the CapEx, and with the saprolite component we have, certainly Eagle Mountain is one of those projects, and Eric has an excellent track record of building projects on that basis. Kevin Pickett is our chief geologist. He's living in Guyana. He's been associated with the project since 2008. Very skilled team, and you may know the rest of the directors and such, a skilled team covering most of the mining disciplines. Valuation basis, I think like luckily we're cheap. We've been cheap for a while. I think with the support we're getting from the institutions coming on this financing and the news flow that we expect to see in 2021 with 16,000 meters, 16,500 meters planned for drilling this year, a lot of which we haven't come out yet. Resource update later this year, PFS into the next year. We see the potential to compete for a much higher valuation given the executability of this project. So that's the news flow. 5 discoveries in the last 24 months. We've got 3 drills on site, 16,500 meters of drilling. As I said, resource update later this year. I think the rubber hits the road with this project with the PFS. The PFS will be able to demonstrate the clear CapEx and OpEx benefits of the saprolite, the ability to phase the project with the saprolite, and certainly I think there's a chance to demonstrate that this project brings to bear a very low CapEx and OpEx intensity. So that will be middle of 2022 on the PFS, and that's the story.
So thanks for the overview, Steve. Just talking a little bit about your financing, use of proceeds, and the rollback. Is the intention to list on another exchange or anything like that? Like, what was the rationale for the rollback?
Yeah, no, but when I've been going out, just again, it's been 6 months for me, sort of reaching out to investors and having discussions, and what was pretty clear with the investors that we did have, and also prospective investors, is the feedback was, you've got a very high quality project. It's executable. It's not a story stock. This is a real tangible asset that you should be able to build. You've got a quality asset. You don't have a quality share structure. So to provide better alignment between the two, our board and a number of investors, had been considering for some time the concept of a rollback. So it's not related to other exchanges. It's purely to provide better alignment between the quality of the asset and the quality of the share structure.
Sure, and probably gets you marginability too. Gets the shareholders. Maybe helps with liquidity. I think Paul was going to join us. Paul, do you have some questions as well?
Hello. Hey. Yes. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Paul.
Excellent presentation. I just wanted to sort of, forward-looking and all, but you started to sort of have a vision of what you think that the mining scenario could be, what kind of scale of production the project might be able to sustain. And perhaps you could give us a little bit of insight into the permitting situation in Guyana. What kind of timelines does that entail, please?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. At this point in time, and obviously we're still making our way through this. We just came out with this updated resource of 1.7 million ounces. So it was larger than our initial goal was, between 1.3 and 1.6. So we beat that to the top end. So as we think about the production scenario, the way we envisage it right now is a saprolite starter, 4,000 to 5,000 tons a day, in that range. Not at the saprolite grades that you see in the resource, but again, we can cherry pick and preferentially focus on higher grades early in the mine life, given the nature of the deposit. So we'd be looking at something well north of 1 gram per ton in the saprolite of 4,000 to 5,000 tons a day, in that range. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We've got to work through that for the PFS, for the mining and the processing and such. The permitting is in Guyana. There's a number of recent examples, of course, and you mentioned it, the country is pro-mining, but not pro-mining just from a sort of a security of mineral tenure. It's pro-mining in the sense of expedited permitting. I mean, I think there's many other pro-mining jurisdictions that U.S. is a great example. Is you've got great security of your tenements, but it take you forever to get permitted, right? So Guyana has both. It's fairly accelerated on the permitting side. So what we look to do is convert the prospecting license to a mining license, submit the environmental management plan, EIS, the positive economic study to the agencies, work that through. It's anywhere from sort of like a year to a year and a half time frame we'd be looking at for full permits.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't see any other audience questions. We're coming up on the half hour. Paul, did you have any additional questions?
No, that was the main thing for me, looking forward to where we're working towards.
Got it.
Great.
Well, we'll hope to report back on that, in the coming months and quarters, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So thanks, Steve. Really interesting project, really exciting times. Finally, strong management, consolidated share structure. Like, I think, with the treasury that you have now, you can do a lot of drilling. And like you said in your presentation, last year was a little slow for news, but this year should be pretty active. So looking forward to seeing some of those results.
Yeah, no, we're financed for probably over 2 years. So
that's great. Anything we missed? Anything you want to add in?
I think you covered it. I mean, that financing in the rollback is transformational for us. Of course, we've never been in a position to have sort of 2 years or so of financing for the project. So yeah, stay tuned. I mean, we've got a lot of results coming out, and lots going on in Guyana with respect to discoveries with the other companies working there, and also M&A in the country.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't touch on that. Is M&A part of your strategy?
Listen, we're focused on sort of unlocking the value we have so far. We got 1.6. We got a big resource that we haven't yet competed for a higher valuation. So we're focused on that. We're focused on the eastern side of the property. We will continue to look around Guyana for opportunities. We've got the expertise in the country. We've got 40 people on the ground in Guyana, big team and skilled team there. So we'll continue to look around. But the focus is Eagle Mountain for now.